Meet the Mets. The M-E-T-S Mets of
Head for the park and greet the Mets. Hot dogs, green grass, all out of shade. Guaranteed to have a heck of a day because the Mets are really rocking that ball, hitting those home runs over the wall. New Jersey, Brooklyn, Queens, uptown and down. Let's go Mets! That's the cheer all over New York town. Meet the Mets. 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 Head for the park and greet the Mets. Hot dogs, green grass, all out of shade. Guaranteed to have a heck of a day because the Mets are really rocking the ball, hitting those home runs over the wall. New Jersey, Brooklyn, Queens, uptown and down. Let's go Mets! That's the cheer all over New York town. Meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. Let's go Mets!
Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion, your host, the Hut, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut. Very late night live stream here in New York. Not New York City anymore, but New York. And Mets won tonight 6-2. So a lot happened today, I got to tell you. A lot of very amusing things happened today. And we'll get into it. Before we get into it, like this video, like the live stream, and of course, if you're coming for the first time, hit that subscribe button. So we're going to talk about the Mets a little bit, and some of the things they're going to try to get, before the trade deadline, and of course, big performance by a Met prospect, which I don't know what's going to happen with him, but he might not be playing Double-A too much longer. And then I had something happen to me on Twitter, which is very amusing, considering where the individual who did this to me can't take it. He can dish it out, but he can't take it. But the Mets played tonight, of course. They beat the Nationals 6-2. Luis Severino pitched really well tonight. That's good to see the jinx of Joe Benigno did not hurt him. He went 6 1/3 innings, struck out 4, walked 3. Walks is still very high for him. Gave up 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned. He looked pretty good. The one thing I'll say about him is he's given them a lot of length. And there are games that he gives up a lot of runs, but he has given the Mets a lot of length, and that's good news. It is good Let me say hello to the chat before we go any further. Hello, Sir Foul Player of Brooklyn, Gerald Geraldo? Is that Harold? Gerald Montagna, Anthony Guido. How you guys doing tonight? So the Mets play tonight. Luis Severino pitched really well. Met bullpen was pretty decent tonight. To be honest with you, um, let me see. Diekman did not make me nervous. He made me nervous, but he pitched out of it. Danny Young came in. You got to give him a hit. They had to bring in Jose Buto. He saved the game. First career save from Gerald Montagna. I think Sevy has earned an extension. No, he has not. He's been injured most of his career. You do not give an extension to a guy, first of all, halfway into the season. Let's see him finish it. If I give him an extension, he'll get 1 year and an option. That's it. That's it. You give him more than that, you'll be kicking yourself. And with the Mets pitching, there are better pitchers on the market this offseason, like Walker Buehler and, of course, Corbin Burns. Those guys are better than him. No offense, he's pitched really well. But that's for later on. Let's not worry about that. The Mets are 46 and 45. They're half game behind the third wild card, and they're a game and a half behind the Cardinals for the second wild card. The last 2 days, the Padres have lost to the Mariners because going into play yesterday, the Mets were 2.5 behind the third wild card. So the Mets are in good shape going into the All-Star break. I would really like to see the Mets. It would be great if they ran the table this week. That'd be a great finish, a high finish going into the All-Star break. What did Daniel Murphy call tomorrow? A bonus game? Because they took the first 2 games. They took the series against the Nationals. So that's where we're at right now. Mets need to get that bonus game tomorrow. And let me see who's pitching tomorrow. We'll get into the offense a little bit momentarily. But in the meanwhile, again, please hit the like button and subscribe as always. Let me see who's pitching tomorrow. Tomorrow, David Peterson's pitching. Okay. So tomorrow, David Peterson's pitching. We'll see how he pitches. He's been pretty good, I got to say. He's actually done a very good job over the last few months. So let's get into the offense of this team. Obviously, the Met pitching, the bullpen was pretty good tonight. They didn't give any runs up tonight. They shut the door. And Budo obviously finished the game. The big offensive star in this game tonight was Jose Iglesias, who again is showing the kind of energy that this team has been lacking over the last 2 years. A guy that is a high energy guy, a guy that does everything really well. He's a really good baseball player. He's a great defensive player. He's a good offensive player. He's pretty smart on the field, in the field. He seems to be great in the clubhouse. High energy guy. He's been pretty good. Really, really good. Gerard says this: did McGill pass through waivers? He did not get DFA'd. He had an option. They sent him to the minor leagues. He did not get DFA'd. He had a minor league option. He's been up and down this year. But Iglesias had a big hit in the 6th inning and drove in 2 runs, which was huge because Pete screwed up on the double from Vientos in that 6th inning. He tagged up. He kind of misjudged the ball, and he tagged up, and he didn't go halfway. You got to go halfway on that ball. He tagged back. He was going to tag up. It's just a bad base running play by Pete. Pete's pretty okay on the bases, but that's a situation where he screwed up in that spot. But then Iglesias drove in him, and he drove in Vientos. But he went 3 for 4, and then he had an excuse me hit later on in the game where he got a double. He is basically making it very impossible, very difficult for Jeff McNeil to be playing at all. And it's not just a situation where he's not playing every day. is basically not playing anymore on this team. I did a video earlier today talking about the Mets maybe moving him to the Yankees. There's more of a Mike Francesa idea. It's not realistic, but you're gonna have the Mets are gonna have to think about doing that, moving him and getting him out of here. Eat some of the money, get a reliever in here. This team needs relief help still. They didn't pitch Maton tonight, obviously, but Iglesias has been so good. That's what happens when you bring in professional guys that are hungry, as opposed to what the Mets had, uh, as opposed to where the Mets have had here, like Omar Narvaez and Daniel Vogelback and Luis Guillorme, guys that are completely, totally lazy. Those guys are lazy. But Iglesias, he's got high energy. The guys the Mets have in here, they all pretty much great energy. Tyrone Taylor has great energy. He may not get a hit all the time, but he does have good energy. Harrison Bader has good energy. Uh, Iglesias has been sort of the most popular Met on his own team, and he hasn't been here that long. And the fact that the Mets did not start the season with him coming out of camp is just unbelievable. It's unbelievable that they did not bring him in. That considering how bad Joey Wendell was, how long they took them to do something. It's just unreal. Greg Zeman, would McNeil fit in Texas? We want the Texas relievers. Greg, they have two of the best middle infielders in baseball. They have the best shortstop in the American League in Seager, and they have one of the best second basemen in all baseball in Marcus Semien. That doesn't make any. Who came up with that idea? Wasn't me. That's not a good idea. You want to trade him, you move him to Seattle. That's the team because they've liked him for a long time. He's not you can play him in the outfield, but that doesn't make any sense. They're trying to sell. Okay. At this point, they're going to be good again next year. They've had some weird pitching situation there, but the reality is Texas is not a good spot for him. Okay, Seattle's a better place for him. They like him a lot. They like him a lot. They've liked him for a long time. That's the spot. Missio Porras, how you doing, sir? I would mention I'm on Twitter, so if you're on Twitter, please follow me at the Baseball Hut. I'd like to get 500 followers. I'd like to get that monetized. I'd like to make some money on there. That would be nice. Yes, we'll get into Frank Fleming very soon. But we're just going over the game again. That happened earlier tonight, or just a little while ago. Going to be on for a little bit. But so Jeff McNeil is in a precarious position because he's not playing every day. He's basically in a platoon with a guy that did not play last year in the majors. He did not play last year in the major leagues. So that tells you a lot, okay, about where he's come from as a major leaguer. And he has been excellent, excellent. Hello, Kevin. How you doing? What's going on? And, you talk about a guy that, like I said, wasn't in the major leagues last year. He probably looked like he probably thought he was probably going to retire. And here we are. He's basically playing every day, pretty much. And when, of course, when Vientos isn't playing, or they take Vientos out late, he's playing third. Hello, DJ Equipment. You're new. Hello, Gloom. Oh, God. This one happens to come on late. How you doing? Who else that had a good game? Brandon Nimmo. The non-all-star all-star. Him and Francisco Lindor. Now, Lindor didn't have a good game offensively. He had made a couple of good plays in the field. His defense has really picked up since they moved into the leadoff spot. Mets should never, ever take him out of that leadoff spot. That is his spot. You leave him there, and that's it. And a lot of people were talking a lot about him being an MVP candidate, and I don't disagree with it. He's played so well. Now we're getting to see what he can do. His batting average is like over 300 since early April, Since I guess he went through this 0 for 31 slide, he's been hitting over 300. Amazing. Good for him. I will say this: I don't want to see anybody perform badly here. I want to see the Mets play well. I care about them winning. That's all I care about. If you don't play well, I have no use for you. You know. So the fact that he's played so great, I feel good about that. Good for him. He should be at the All-Star game. Brandon Nimmo should be at the All-Star game. The fact that they're not is a crime. Let's see Marcelo Zuna play. The guy that beat the hell out of his wife, strangled her, and then of course, went drinking and driving. You sure about that? Did I not say, Hut, several weeks ago, Hut? Patience. This team will respond. Well, we were all flipping out, including myself. So you sure about that? Was sure about that. That's for sure. Glue says Lindor is the second best all-over Met of all time. Yeah, okay. He's better than Piazza. So he's saying he's right behind Tom Seaver. I don't think so. Anthony Guido says, I'm just scared McNeil will hit 300 with the Yankees. Anthony, the Mets brought in Luis Torrens for $100,000. They picked the pocket of Brian Cashman. All the Mets did was give him money. You guys worry about, then you never trade anybody. You never trade anybody if you're worried about what a player does after he leaves the team. That's not going to happen anyway, by the way. Hold on, I need a drink. Look. And of course, Mark Vientos went 2 for 3. He's very impressive. A very, very impressive player. Very impressive offensively. He's really improved defensively. 2 for 3, an RBI, a double. He should have gotten 2 RBIs on that double that, Pete screwed up on the base running on the bases there. But he is just so good, and he hits the ball so hard. Gloom says all-around speed, power, average fielding, Lindor is a complete player. Okay. So was Carlos Beltran. So was Darryl Strawberry. Darryl Strawberry won a World Series. Lindor has not. Even with the Indians, he did not. Don't let them in the moment fool you. And you're probably an older subscriber. You're probably an older guy. Now, in the meanwhile, please, of course, like this video. And, of course, Bloom says Beltran's best all-around player in Met history. Didn't win. That's another aspect. I don't want to get into this. This is not important. It's not important right now. So the Mets tonight had a good game. Had a good game tonight. Hello, Dana Jim. How you doing? Just go through the lineup a little bit. Lindor went 0 for 4, struck out. He's played great. Nimmo went 1 for 4, had the home run in the first inning. He's been great. I love him. He reminds me so much of Gary Carter. JD Martinez got off the schneid, got a hit tonight. Scored the run in the sixth inning. Pete went 2 for 4. Mark Vientos went 2 for 3. They brought in Jeff McNeil to be a pinch runner. They put him in to play defense, play second. Like I said, McNeil is playing on borrowed time. Francisco Alvarez caught a really sharp game tonight, as he has. He is a great catcher. He will be in the All-Star game before you know it. He'll probably be in there next year. If he didn't have that injury, he'd be an All-Star this year. He's been that great. Went 1 for 2 in the game. Obviously, the offensive star of this game was Jose Iglesias with 3 for 4. 2 runs scored, 2 RBIs, and a double later on in the game. Tyrone Taylor got an RBI. He got 2 hits, a triple in this game. I guess he hit a triple last night. Second triple in 2 nights. Got 3 triples on the season. Harrison Bader went 0 for 4. struck out, but he's been really strong, batting ninth in this lineup. I mean, he's been really good, and he's been able to stay healthy. The Mets left 6 men on base. They were 5 for 8. 5 for 8 with men in scoring position. And considering how bad they've been with men in scoring position, to be 5 for 8 at any point during the season with the Mets is great to see. Luis Severino went 6 and a third innings. Like I said, Diekman came in, made us all nervous, pitched two batters, struck out 2 of them. Danny Young came in, pitched 2/3 of an inning, gave up a hit. He came out in the 8th inning. And of course, Jose Buta closed out the game. They were going to bring in Edwin Diaz to get the last 3 outs, but once the Mets got that 4th run in the 8th inning, they were going to just keep ride out Buto. Really like him a lot. I'm glad that he's been able to stay here in the majors. Hopefully they'll, I don't think have him be a long man or whatever. He's been really, really good. So his ERA is 2.72. It's been really, really good. Met Farm System is going to develop some really interesting players over the next couple of weeks and months. Really, the next few years, really. And excuse me, I'm just trying to go through a couple things here. Now, please, of course, like this video and hit the subscribe button. Gonna punch up on here on the side Ryan Clifford's night, because Ryan Clifford had a big night for the Roma Ponies, and we need to talk about that because, quite frankly, he's getting awfully close to being promoted. I would expect that he will be getting promoted in the next few weeks, because he has been dominating double A. He's been dominating double A, to be honest with you. From Anthony Guido, do you think Diaz is starting to get the fastball back? He was getting it. He was getting it back. What's going on? It's my camera. Excuse me. He was getting it back. Hold on a second. Yeah, Diaz was getting it back until he got caught with his hands being sticky, and he wasn't throwing too hard last night. He was throwing pretty hard on Sunday. He wasn't throwing that hard last night. But, he needs to get out there and pitch. But he was throwing like 96, 97. It wasn't really all that great. Wasn't all that promising, in my opinion, in my view. But to talk about Ryan Clifford went 3 for 5 tonight. 3 for 5, hit 2 home runs. He's got 15 home runs on the season with 6 RBIs. His batting average in Double A he's hitting 230 with an OPS of 923, and I believe he's one of the top hitters in the minor leagues with walks. He's got 66 walks, which is a lot. He's probably going to have over 100 walks for the season. He is getting awfully close to getting called up to getting promoted to AAA. I would expect within the month he will be in AAA, if not before that. Be interesting to see when they hit their All-Star break in the minors, if the Mets decide to call him up, promote him to AAA, because he's been that good. About 2-3 weeks ago, his batting average was about 178. Now it's at 230. So that batting average completely jumped in a big way. He has done some job over the last few weeks, and I've been reading a lot of the sort of reports, and he's like littered all in the reports. So he's doing so much good work down there. Let me just go through it. You see something. Now, in the meanwhile, let's take a look at this and see what we have here. Yeah, so he's hitting 224 overall in the season. He's got 15 home runs and 49 RBIs and 254 at bats. So that's really quite impressive. Uh, 259 at bats. So over 259 at bats, if he had 550 at bats, he'd be a 31 home run hitter, 30 home run hitter. So he is on pace to be quite the impressive player, and over 100 RBIs. And he's 21 years old. He'll be 21 next week. So Ryan Clifford is getting awfully close to taking that next step. And it'll be interesting to see where we're at next spring training. But I just wanted to mention him because he is very exciting. And of course, um, they mentioned him on SNY and I guess on the SNY Tonight show that they have, their sports news show. They mentioned him. He had a big night. He had hit a grand slam in the game, hit a 2-run home run later in the game. And I just wanted to sort of highlight him because, as you know, I have the prospect hut, and I've been finding all these things about him um, online, do mesmerized, going through his the box scores every day. So he's been doing a great job. He's really turned his season around, specifically with the batting average. The on base percentage has been really high. It's been over like 360, which is very strong. And the slugging has been really good. And now the batting average is starting to come. So, and he's a young player. He's very young. Terry Coyle, love your Mets content. You know what? This is the highlight. This is the highlight of this live stream. Your own highlights, but thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I do the best I can. I really do. And there's going to be more stuff. I have a video for the morning, a video for you in the morning, a trade possibility. Now, obviously, the Mets need help with the pitching. They need help with their bullpen. There's several ways you can improve the bullpen. One is you get a starter in here that throws multiple innings, throws more than 5 innings, and get to 7 innings. And also, you bring in more bullpen depth. I have 4 names here that I sort of come across, and it seems like people are talking about them. We got Carlos Estevez, who's the closer for the Angels. A guy that I guess he's pitched really well this year. And people have mentioned that the Mets would be very interesting to be interested in getting him over the course of the next few weeks. The Mets need a guy that can set, Edwin Diaz up, and be able to close at a pinch. And he would be a good guy for that. Then we have Kirby Yates from the Texas Rangers, which a lot of people have mentioned. He's pitched rather well. You wouldn't have to give up a lot for him. He's an older pitcher, an older reliever. He's having a decent year. David Robertson, who pitched for the Mets last year and was really, really good until they traded him to the Marlins. And he was terrible for the Marlins. I don't know what the hell happened there. I would love to see him back here. You know he could pitch here. He pitched terrific last year. He didn't want to leave, by the way. Now, the only thing is that David Robinson does not have Billy Epler here. So not having Billy here makes it kind of difficult. He doesn't have a guy in his corner, but we know what kind of player Robinson is, what kind of pitcher he is. He won a championship with the Yankees here. He's been a closer not just with the Yankees, but with the White Sox, the Cubs for a little while, the Phillies, with the Mets last year. He's excellent. I always liked him. I wanted the Mets to get him back in 22 when they couldn't get him. There's Hector Neris, and he's with what the hell is he with? He's with the Cubs. The Cubs are going to sell. The Cubs are just having a terrible year with the manager that's making $400 million a year. He broke the record for all. He's thinking about all the other managers that'll come after him. All the other managers that'll come after him, he's setting the ground for them, so they can make a lot of money and their team is bad. He's setting quite the precedent. And of course, Neris will probably get moved because he's just on an expiring contract. And then we have a starter here, which he has a lot of money on his um, coming to him. He's making $22 million this year, so he'll have to pay. The Mets have to pay about 10 to 11 million of this year's contract, and then he's making $22 million. And this is Chris Bassett, the former Met, Chris Bassett, and Bassett has pitched really well for the Blue Jays. Now he did not leave on good terms with the Mets, um, because not that he was, he had problems with the clubhouse. He's a great clubhouse guy, great in the bench, but he did kind of complain about how much pressure it is here. But he has pitched here, and he did pitch well, other than that one start and the two starts in the playoffs and against the Braves. That you have to keep an eye on. That's the only thing. He'll get you to where you need to be, but he won't take you over the top. That's the only thing. He'll pitch his innings. He'll do a good job, but if you expect him to get a big out and pitch a big game, he might not do that. He might not do that. And I mentioned this other player, and I didn't write this down. A guy the Mets should look at, and the Mets could certainly use some more offensive help on the bench. It's more for the bench than anything else. DJ Stewart is a disaster. DJ Stewart is almost like he's like the sequel to Daniel Vogelback. He is the sequel to Daniel Vogelback. The only difference is he can play the field. And he's not nearly as good of a hitter as Vogelback, believe it or not. He's 20 points worse than Vogelback as a hitter. But he's actually had some big hits for the Mets. He can't be here much longer. He does have minor league options. So he's one guy the Mets could send to the minor leagues. And I was saying this last night. I really would like to see the Mets bring in another bat. And I mentioned him last night, and that's Michael Conforto. I'm not the biggest Michael Conforto fan, but his numbers are much better than Stewart's are. He's not going to be around he's not going to be with the Giants next year. I highly doubt it. He's a pretty good fit, and you wouldn't have to expect him to be the Michael Conforto of 2017, 2019, 2020. You would just have him to be who he is now. We know he can play here. There's not going to be a problem with him being, giving us a problem. Or giving the Mets any kind of problem. He would be fine here. And, of course, he could play defense, although he has been playing primarily left field with the Giants. He would probably have to play right field. And as you know, the Mets don't have Starlin Marte. Marte is hurt. I guess he'll be getting some imaging on his knee. So I don't know what's going on with that. Anthony says this. Do you think Acuna will be called up next year, or Mauricio for second base? Well, here's the thing. Can Acuna help the Mets win this year? He's been sort of up and down in the minor leagues this year. He had a good month of June. But is he a guy that can help them, now? Next year's a different story. He's going to get a long look. Who knows what's going to happen with Iglesias? Iglesias probably won't be here. He's, 35 years old, 36 years old. And Mauricio is a different story because Mauricio might be a better prospect than Acuna in a lot of ways. But everybody loves Mauricio. I love what I saw. I think he could be better than what people are saying about him. The fact that we only got a chance to see him for a month, I thought the Mets waited too long to call him up last year. I thought they should have called him up as soon as the second half began. And they waited and waited and waited. I thought Billy Epler did a terrible job when it came to that. I mean, he just waited too long. Gerald Montanga says Mauricio could be a third baseman or an outfielder. The Mets have a third baseman right now. So the idea that they're going to move Mauricio to third, he's probably better off at second. Mets have so many options here. That's the one thing I like about the way the Mets built the farm system is they have so many guys here that can do a good job. They don't have, and here's the thing: none of these prospects the Mets have, none of them are elite players. Okay, I studied the Mets farm system now the past year. There's nobody elite. Maybe one of these pitchers can get to the next level. But when it comes to these everyday players, there's nobody that's like an elite player. The closest guy they have is Jet Williams, and you kind of forget about him because he's been hurt all year. But he's better than these guys. He gets on base. He's got some pop. He can get, he's got a lot of speed. He might be faster than any of these guys. Uh, Terry Coy says, just one more question. I love watching your content because you're a diehard Mets fan and know about uh, the Mets, but Gary Cohen knows every stat. How can that be? Well, here's the thing. He is a professional. He has to know that stuff. I am a fan. I know a lot, but that's the one thing I do not know a lot about is the statistics. And plus, they have people that work for them. They have these people that give them notes during the games, saying this is what this player is doing, that's what that player is doing, and they do a lot of work before games. And they get all these kind of statistics. They get these sheets and they run through them. Emerson M. Hey, Hud, what are your thoughts on the possibility of Ryan Clifford maybe next year or 26 being a first base replacement for Alonso if he walks? I'm not worried about next year, and I don't or beyond. Ryan Clifford is an exciting prospect. Okay, he might be the guy with the most potential in the Mets farm system, just due to the fact that he walks a lot, he knows the strike zone, and he has big power. Mets don't have a lot of guys with a lot of power. He's the Mets' best power hitter in the minor leagues. But he's only 20 years old. He needs time to develop. There's no rush on him. But the thing is you have to sort of understand that he is a guy that he could play the outfield. Let's worry about now when it comes to Pete. Pete's not going to get traded. And maybe by 26, maybe Pete's not a first baseman anymore with the Mets if he's still here. Maybe the Mets decide to DH him. Now, they compared Clifford to Lucas Duda. So we have a pretty good idea of what he is as a player. But we'll see. Let's see. Gerald says this. We'll see about Vientos. The scouting has always been that Vientos can't play a position in Major League Baseball. I thought the same way until this year. He's been really good at third. He's got a good arm. Now that I've had a chance to see him play every day, I can live with him right now. Okay? And his offense is so good, you can't sit him. You cannot sit him. He's been that good, quite frankly. Anthony says this, I don't believe that crap about, look what they said about Alvarez. People said he can't catch. Look at him now. He's been great. He's been great defensively. That's the weirdest thing about the Mets, is that they always say the Mets can't play defense. And then you see these guys get to the majors and been pretty good. This goes back to Michael Conforto. They said Michael Conforto couldn't play defense, and he was great. He was under a Gold Glove outfielder. He's been great. He was great when he was with the Mets. And when Pete came up, they said he couldn't play defense. Now, Vientos did not play well last year defensively. He didn't look good at third. Okay. And he's done a great job. You can see the hard work for him has really paid off defensively. His hands, he still needs work with he still needs help with his footwork. He still needs work with his hands. But defensively, you can always improve by positioning yourself, good scouting reports on where you can play on the field. You play back in a certain play, you play forward a second, a certain player. So you can improve yourself that way. And I would mention this about Brett Beatty. He played really good defense too before he got sent back down to AAA. I will mention that about him. But the thing about Beatty, which I didn't say about Vientos, is Beatty can't hit. Brett Beatty can't hit. I'll stake everything on him not being able to hit. Emerson M says, I'm really curious if the Mets hold on with one of Manaea or Quintana at the deadline because they have been great with Alvey behind the plate. I wonder how Stearns will approach it. I don't know. He he said that he's undecided about what to do with the Mets, about what they should do this year. Um, so that's the one thing he seems to be undecided as to where to go with this club. So that's the one thing about this, about him in particular, uh, about what he's trying to do with this Mets team. You know what I mean? Um, that's the one thing I would mention, that when he talked to the media yesterday, he seemed kind of undecided. He seemed kind of undecided about where to go, to sell, to buy. I think they're going to buy. They'll try to improve this bullpen. They hopefully they improved it. And here's the thing: they lost Reed Garrett. Reed Garrett is hurt too. He's on the injured list. They're going to get the results back on the MRI that they had yesterday or today that they gave him. And he had thrown a lot of pitches over the last few days. What they say, 72 pitches in the last 2 games. It's a lot, you know. And he has not pitched well since the end of May. So I don't know if he was nursing an injury or what. Uh, but that's the story. you know, that's the story. Uh, all right. Now, I've been very critical of this guy called Frank Fleming, who I think you all know about because he is the most toxic um, Mets fan. He might be the worst Mets fan. He might be the worst Mets fan that we deal with, not only online, but of course in the real world. This is a guy that is making money off of hating on his own team. He was hired by Barstool Sports 3 years ago, right after Steve Cohen bought the Mets. And I would mention this, that Dave Portnoy uh, was one of the bidders to buy the Mets, along with Alex Rodriguez, Jason Kelsey, Jennifer Lopez, and he was going to be a minority owner of the Mets. And he's also a good friend of Jeff Wilpon. They both went to Michigan, and they're very good friends. And I guess he was pissed off that Steve Cohen bought the team. He's gone after Steve Cohen when right after they bought the team, he went after his business, um, and it's been a dispute that's gone on for 3 years now. Right after that, he hired Frank Fleming, who had that meltdown back in 2017 when he missed his train going into the city to go to Citi Field. That crazy video of him screaming like a lunatic, um, instead of leaving the house early, son of a bitch, missed the train. Well, I had an interaction with him, and I kind of prompted it myself. I don't normally do this on Twitter. I'm very quiet on Twitter. But for some reason, I decided to sort of, write out some things and tweet out some things today because I thought I want to get this account moving a little bit. It's very important to me to move it. And I mentioned how there's nothing worse than a Mets fan that revels in the Mets losing. Let me see if I can find this tweet. Maybe you can want and be able to see it. I can't see it because Frank Fleming blocked your host. He blocked me after this interaction I had with him. Now, meanwhile, as I find it, whatever I can find here, please hit the subscribe button and like this video. Also had an interaction with Sal Licata. Very sarcastic I am. And you got to be sarcastic with these people. All right. So, let me find it. This is what I wrote. And hopefully you can see it. If Mets fans revel in the club losing, they aren't really Mets fans or just grifters. And I go right at NJ Tank 99. Now that is the Twitter handle of Frank Fleming. Now he's been going around the country throwing out the first pitch at these different ballparks. He threw out the first pitch in Milwaukee. He threw out the first pitch in um, Arizona. He is lauded by everybody but Met fans. Met fans do not like him. There is not one Met fan other than these scumbags. I mean, these hosts on WFAN that brag about how great he is. In particular, Boomer Esiason, who, by the way, is also a guy that is good friends with Jeff Wilpon. And I tweet out to a couple people on there. Missio Porus, who's a great subscriber, and of course Stony 814 is a great subscriber. And I'm just trying to move this account a little bit. And the son of a bitch, Frank Fleming, wrote to me. He says he wants to do it at Citi Field. And I said, show respect to us as fans, and maybe someday you will. Most fans don't like you. I would say most fans hate him. So I retweeted it. I go, this guy wants to throw out the first pitch at Citi Field, but calls Steve Cohen a fraud because he got tired of his negativity and blocked him. I don't blame Steve. Good for him. And then, of course, I retweeted this video. I tweeted this video out that I saved back in the wintertime to where Steve Cohen blocked the son of a bitch, okay, on Twitter. And he did this video on Twitter complaining about Steve Cohen. Let me play you this clip, and then you see me basically making fun of him, saying that men don't cry about being blocked on the internet. Now you're going to say, Hut, you're complaining. You're doing the same thing. Aha. He can't take. It's always guys like this can dish it out, but they can't take it. I can dish it, and I can take it. Okay. And this guy has a big audience, and and most of them aren't Met fans. Okay. Let me play you this clip of him crying about this.
You petty man. You don't want to hear any criticism that you have failed as an owner. You have completely failed. You've been nothing but a disappointment. And now you've blocked me because you don't want to hear the fucking truth. You petty man. You don't want to hear any criticism.
Right. So obviously this guy is nuts. Okay. And the one thing I learned about him is he's completely gutless. Back in the wintertime, I guess he'd been complaining a lot with the situation with Steve getting tired of him complaining. And Cohen blocked him. So instead of Frank not saying anything, he posts this video. I'm gonna play this again. Now he says that Steve doesn't like the criticism. Well, I didn't even curse at the guy. I said he was a grifter. Okay, it's an opinion. I said that that the Met fans don't like him. I think we all could agree on that. Met fans hate him. Okay. And I learned a lot about him over the last year based off of my comic book side, do the comic book hut, a YouTuber and a comedian called Alex Stein went to Barstool Sports because Dave Portnoy was making all kinds of threatening comments about Alex Stein. Well, Alex Stein is friends with a YouTuber and a comic skater called Cecil. And they went down there to the city to confront Portnoy with a half-naked black guy. I swear to God, I'm not making this up. Half-naked black guy. And they basically were trolling him outside the office. Now, while all this is going on, Fleming was there. And Fleming was laughing at it because he thought it was funny. But then when he realized the camera was on, he got all tough. He got all tough, And that did not work out. That did not work out too well. And I realized then, and this was long before I did videos on him, that he's a fake. Then I started looking into him when he started saying that the Mets are going to lose 110 games over the next 3 years. They're going to lose 330 games over the next 3 years. Once I saw that, I started flipping out. And then I'm like, this guy is a piece of shit, you know. And then I started digging into him. He's got a background in broadcasting, so he knows how to like trigger people. He knows how to trigger people. And so he knows what to say, how to say it, and he gets people very upset. He's about as negative as the thumbs down guy. I saw him at Citi Field years ago. He's a pretty negative guy too. Let me play this clip again. This is him complaining about Steve Cohen blocking him. But meanwhile, he's saying that a team that Steve owns is going to lose 110 games. He said that Carlos Mendoza was going to lose 110 games because he was going to turn out to be the worst manager in baseball history. You know. So you have this situation where he's belittling the Mets. And he was belittling the Mets the other day. When they brought in Eric Orsi to try to get that out in the sixth inning, he went after him, making fun of the guy. Now, I mentioned this. Eric Orsi is a guy that is a two-time cancer survivor. Okay? Now, your host knows when to let up. And he was belittling him, saying that, and then saying the Mets have no good prospects. They never have good prospects. They never, ever develop anybody. But meanwhile, he forgets about the kid behind the plate. He forgets about Pete Alonso hitting 50 home runs the first season. Jeff McNeil won a batting title. They got Mark Vientos playing third. Brandon Nimmo. And meanwhile, he's saying the Mets don't produce anybody. All he does is complain about what the Mets have done over the last 7 years. But meanwhile, he talks about people getting fired left and right. If this one should be fired. This one's terrible. That one's terrible. When you don't have a continuity with your front office, you're going to have a lousy farm system. But through all this, the Mets have developed some good players over the years. Like I said, like Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, Brandon Nimmo. Let me play this clip, and then we can sort of move on from this monkey crap. And then I can get back to the chat. Now, meanwhile, please like this video.
You petty man. You don't want to hear any criticism that you have failed as an owner. You have completely.
Now this clown is complaining about criticism. I'm criticizing the fact that nobody likes him as a fan. Mets fans don't like him. What does he do with me? Blocks me. And I haven't cursed. I am the most calm person in a situation like that. The more a person curses at me, the calmer I get. And I didn't flip out. In fact, I'm very calm right now. Got to be late now.
Completely failed. You've been.
I would mention the failure of Steve Cohen. The second year he owned the team, they made the postseason. This year, this Mets team has a chance to make the postseason again. I was thinking about this during the post game. So 2 of the first 4 years of the Steve Cohen era, the Mets made the postseason. Hopefully, this year they make it. So how is that a failure?
Nothing but a disappointment. And now you've blocked me because you don't want to hear the fucking truth.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is he's a wacko and a grifter. Only a grifter would act like this and talk like this on a regular basis. Terry Bernardino. The Mets did not develop Francisco Lindor. They got him in a trade. Yes, Terry, absolutely right. The Mets developed Jacob deGrom. And of course, we can't forget about the 2015 Mets, primarily a very young team. Gerald's worried about 2016. Don't worry about 2016, man. I'm not worried about 2025. Let's not worry about 2025. Let's worry about this year. Let's see if I missed anything. Me read you what Emerson said. Frank's a clown hut. He's the biggest Mendoza hater, and he got one-on-one with him in Chicago, and he was soft little. I know. I forgot all about that. Didn't speak up when he had his chance. And Mendoza's face, he's a joke. He is. It's all an act. It's all an act to make money. Um, it's all an act. It's all an act. It's always been an act. And like I said, he was a broadcaster. He's got a broadcasting background. And in fact, his YouTube channel goes back to 2007. So he's been trying to be a broadcaster for all these years. All these years. All these years. And now he's been able to sort of parlay this sort of hatred for his own team, into money. And meanwhile, he is the most loved fan online. All the other teams love him. All the other broadcasters love him. All the anti-Met fan, WFN a-holes love him. They all think he's wonderful, and we don't. We don't. I mean, we don't like him. I don't like him. And it takes a lot for me not to like somebody, especially if I don't know them. What Gerald was doing, Terry, was he was just putting out the Mets lineup for next season. Okay? And the year beyond. He wasn't talking about a list of prospects of all-time Mets. Yeah, so tomorrow the Mets are playing at 1:10. They're actually playing a day game during the week. Been a while since they played a day game during the week at home. Sorry, Anthony. Sort of offline here. Let me see what you wrote. Let me check my phone because I can't find it. It's from Anthony. I actually saw him in person at Mets Blue Jays game last year, and we lost. And he started yelling at the Mets on his phone. Started yelling at other people that are Met fans. That boy should shut up. Yeah, I mean, he is just deranged, and he's making money off being deranged. Somebody wrote to me a couple months ago saying that he was screaming on opening day. So he's just a complete total wacko. But he's the type you corner him, and he just he backs down. The fact that he's kissing the ass of the manager after he said he was going to lose 110 games, it's pathetic. Terry says, "How do you think the Mets should trade Pete?" No, they shouldn't. I don't think they will. Gerald says this: I can't remember such exciting prospects in 35 years. Well, there was Michael Conforto, Matt Harvey. Let's go back a little bit further. Jay Payton, Edgar Alfonso, Ray Ordonez, Jason Isringhausen. I'm going to go back further. Paul Wilson. Although I didn't like Paul Wilson. Paul Wilson was terrible. He was not a good major leaguer. Jerry Familia. But very few got Jose Reyes, absolutely. David Wright, absolutely. So Frank Fleming doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. He's a dope. The thing about Pete is you got to be. See, here's the thing. Pete is the kind of guy that he's 30. He's gonna be 30 years old after the season. And do you want to sign a 30-year-old first baseman to a long-term deal? If you're another team It's not nearly as attractive as it would be if it were the Mets. Part of it is the Mets have a bond with him. We have a bond with Pete. Okay. He goes to another team, he's not going to be nearly as good. But if he stays here, he will be breaking records and he'll have sort of a connection to this club. Okay. The Mets offered him a very good contract last year. He was foolish. He turned it down. He shouldn't have done that. And he's not had a great year. He's been okay. Um, he's been okay. Um, Terry says 5 years, 125. No, he's going to want more. He wants at least 7, 8 years. 7 or 8 more years. From Anthony, seriously, does Frank have a mental disorder? Because the way he acts, he belongs in an institution. I mean, he's like this. He'll put something in his mouth. He's crazy. And he starts clapping his hands. It's like like one of these monkeys, like one of these mechanical monkeys. I mean, he's really nuts. And just think, and he's not even like and he lives in New Jersey too, so he's not a New Yorker. He's a big Dolphins fan, and he's a big, like Devils fan. And whenever they show him on the big screen with the Devils, they boo him. They tell him to shut up. Emerson M says, David Wright's number has to be the next number retired. He would have been a Hall of Fame if it wasn't for the spinal stenosis. I think that Gary Carter should have this number retired. Men Ben says, Frank is a big Mets fan. I love him. Are you a Mets fan? Because most Mets fans do not like him, do not love him. Are you a Mets fan? I highly doubt it. Men Benz. Because most Mets fans hate him. Yeah, the next player that should be have his number retired is Gary Carter. The Mets should have retired his number. Well, Men Benz, if you think that if you are in love with this guy, I'm going to mention, I say it like it is here. So if you get annoyed with me, I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Okay. Do you hate the Mets too? This is an act. This is a grift with a guy. Yeah, I mean, Pete is going to be a guy that's going to get he's going to want a lot of money. But he's not having a very good walk year. It's not as big of a disaster as Michael Conforto's walk year, but he should have signed the contract with the Mets last year. That's why they decided to shop him a little bit to see what his value is. His value is not nearly as high as it would be with other teams, and you're not going to get anything in a trade for him. You're not going to be able to get the kind of process you think he deserves to get back in return. The Paul Goldschmidt comparison is pretty strong, and he's a better player than Pete. I don't think Frank Fleming is funny. If a grown man who's 50 years old is rolling around on the ground because a sports team lost a game, there's something wrong here, or it's an act. I don't find that amusing. It's embarrassing for a man that's 50 years old plus to be rolling on the ground like a baby. I'm sorry. I don't find it amusing. It's embarrassing. All right. It's over the top embarrassing. And like you said, it's all an act. It's not funny. It's sad. And he's grifted so many people, and most of them aren't Met fans. Okay? He's never, and the hut means ever, going to be able to throw the first pitch out at Citi Field. That's never going to happen. Because Dave Portnoy's caused so much trouble with Steve Cohen, And this guy has caused so much agita, um, so much agita with Steve Cohen. It's never going to happen. Nobody finds that strange that he's able to throw the first pitch out of these other teams, but not the Mets. You know, it's bizarre. The behavior is bizarre. From Stony 814, if Senga comes back with starting pitcher to starting, would Peterson go in the bullpen? I don't know what they're going to do. They said they're going to go with a 6-man rotation. Emerson M. I don't understand how Frank managed to get the legendary Don Gooden to walk with him. That blows my mind. You know what it is? It's celebrity. Okay? He's a celebrity. Yeah, the Mets are going to a 6-man rotation. They said that yesterday. So they can control the pitch count of Christian Scott and make sure that excuse me, I got an itch on my face. That they're able to manage, Senga for the rest of the season. Frank is a legend. How? Frank's not a legend. How's he a legend? He acts like an asshole during, when he misses the train. That's not being a legend. That's a fool. He's a fool. He's a fool. Sorry. All right. So I'm going to end the live stream now because it's a long day. Long day. And I've gone for an hour. And I want to thank you all for coming by. I will be back. Well, if this dope doesn't like it, he should learn how to drive. If you complain about the public transportation, get a fucking car. Excuse my language. Get a car. Okay? I drive. Okay? He doesn't drive. So, but yes, I'll be back tomorrow. We'll have a live stream tomorrow. I might be on Twitter tomorrow, doing a video tomorrow, a live stream. And I might do a live stream on Twitter. So, trying to do something with this, with that platform. But yeah, so we'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow on a live stream after the Met game, right after the Met game. Hopefully the Mets will get the sweep tomorrow. They played really well against the Nationals. They're 7-2 against them. So if they get another win tomorrow, that'd be awesome. Especially since they didn't play so well last weekend on the road. Mets have played much better at home. That's great to see. And that would be nice. You're absolutely right, Stoney. Let me put that up there. It'd be nice to be over 2 games over 500. I'd like to see them run the table, get the rest of this. It would be very nice if Mets can run the table. It would be very nice. All right, Men Benz is annoying me. He's getting a timeout. I'm not doing anything with this guy. Okay, I don't know who this guy is. Is Men Benz? I guess he's subscribed for the moment just to defend him. Is that you, Frank? Is that you, Frank? It might be Frank. A lot of these grifters have alternate accounts. He didn't get blocked. He just got timed out. It's just annoying. If he comes back, I'll take that under consideration. But he didn't say anything. He didn't curse at me. He didn't curse at anybody. He's just annoying. And he's not talking about the Mets. He's just defending Frank. I love that emoji. That is the best emoji. That is the best emoji. That's the sad Mets fans face. We had that back about a month and a half ago. About 2 months ago. Yeah, Barstool is the saddest group of people I've come across. They really are. I mean, they have that podcast, and they don't talk to the chat. They all act like they're such great Met fans, but they never ever talk about the club in the off season. Well, anyway, thank you for watching this live stream, this late live stream here at the Baseball Hut. We'll be back tomorrow after the game. Be back after the game, and there might be a live stream on Twitter, exclusively on Twitter, before the game, if I have enough time and I'm not tired. But thank you for watching. Of course, leave comments in the comments section if you're watching this on replay. And it would be nice if I got a super chat, a super thanks, or something. Breaking my ass here for you folks. Trying to be entertaining. I think this was a good live stream. You don't get this stuff. You don't get the the greatest emoji. This is what Frank Fleming makes everybody feel. This emoji. Randy Fernandez just got on. I'm about ready to leave. And let me put the emoji in here for myself. I love that emoji. When Frank Fleming is in the chat. When Frank Fleming is talked about and discussed, this is what we say. When he comes around and starts grifting. Well, thank you, Terry. I'm joking, not joking. Been very busy here. Like I said, at 8 o'clock in the morning, we'll have a video. There won't be a video in the afternoon because the Met game will be on. I'll have the lineups up tomorrow in the morning. And there'll be a video tomorrow night. What that would be, I don't know. I think I said enough about Frank. I don't need to do a video on him tomorrow. But thank you for coming by. The Mets won 6-2. Ryan Clifford is raking. We got a bunch of names of players that could be traded to the Mets. Carlos Estevez, Hector Neris, Kirby Yates, David Robinson, Chris Bassett, Michael Conforto. And then we talked about the grift of Frank Fleming. So if anything comes up on him, I'll bring it up. But I'm not doing a video on him, I don't think. But this was a fun video. And I appreciate the time you take to watch. I'm not a professional broadcaster. I'm just a Met fan like you guys that loves talking about the Mets. Thank you. Have a good night. And I'll see you later.